everyone. I'm Phil, co-founder of Lastic. My co-founder is Aurora. And she's doing most of the coding, if not all, at this point. But yeah, we are. I wanted to focus this talk on quite a few topics today, going into like the market side of and the economic side of block space and Coretime, as well as the technical stuff we've been able to achieve and some of the challenges we've had with Lastic building on Polkadot later on in the talk. So I want to go over the true cost of block space, Coretime, what it is and what its economics might be like. And what's our journey been in building a Coretime marketplace. So when your idea is to build a marketplace for block space, should probably understand what's the supply, the demand, how is the price being set, and so on. Well, I think that what is block space exactly? Is it a commodity? There's a lot of people with questions about, like, is it a commodity? Is it a race to the bottom? One of my most favorite expressions. But yeah, I think Rob says it best. It's not a commodity, but a class of commodities. So the block space that Bitcoin provides is not the same block space that Ethereum provides, not the same block space that Polkadot provides. They vary in quality, availability, and flexibility. Quality mostly being security. How secure is that space? How can you rest assured that it's not going to get attacked easily or be manipulated easily? Is it available? Is it online? Does your block space provider or blockchain have an uptime page? Meaning it probably has downtime as well. And how flexible is it? What can I do with it? Like, Bitcoin can only do so much with it. You could send a UTXO transaction and some inscriptions now, but the flexibility of the block space on the relay chain isn't also flexible, but the block space that parachains provide is very flexible. So that makes this different. Not all block space is created equal. So I want to go into, okay, so if we're building a marketplace around this, how do we price that? And how is it going to be priced? And I think it's important to look at the other aspects, the other block space providers out there. So I think the way we've learned with Bitcoin and Ethereum is that fees are kind of a signal, a very strong signal to the market into how valuable that block space is. So fees are not only a spam protection mechanism, but they're also a revenue generation mechanism for the validators or miners on that chain. The fee model of revenue generation creates a sustainability despite the fluctuation in token price. And that's something I want to separate here is, like, we have token price and the cost of the block space. What is the value of the block space, and what is the value of its token? They're very different things, and I'm not going to go in too much into tokenomics here. So how can the supply of block space affect the pricing? And I think with fees, it's important to split it into two little things. One is the cost per transaction. How much does it cost me to send a transaction? What are the total allocated fees? So what is, like, the fees collected by a blockchain over a period of time, and then how much does it cost me? So if the blockchain is collecting $1 million in USD value in fees a day, is it costing each user $1,000, or is it costing each user a penny? That's something that matters a lot. And, like, the supply of that block space matters a lot, not only its quality, availability, and so on, but that limited constraint that it's initially kind of arbitrarily set, and sometimes set by technical restraints, where, you know, the image of the football game here, if you have, like, let's say there's 100,000 people, this can fit, but if there's 99,999 people attending this game, they're all going to have a relatively predictable price of the ticket. Once the game gets oversold and sold out, then you have a secondary market of scalping, which which creates major fluctuations in price. So the cost per transaction, as long as the block isn't full, is pretty much predictable, regardless of the total allocated fees. And if you have very limited supply, it can look like the phone booth packing on the right, where you can even arbitrarily limit your supply, such as 1 megabyte per 10 minutes, and then you have this appearance of constantly being super popular. The fee model of revenue generation is really important because it's one way the Bitcoin core developers see it as the means to an end to continue the halving until near zero token issuance rewards per block. And on December 20th, 2017, the total fees allocated per block outpaced the number of Bitcoin that were being created. And that's to them a success. Now, and this happens only when you start reaching this limit of your block space capacity. When you start seeing these insane price increases, and that limits the amount of transactions per one, and then you have a bidding war to be included in the next block. This does impact you negatively by once this started to happen. There's a correlated effect of the market cap percentage of Bitcoin also dropping very rapidly, and alternatives, substitutes coming into the minds and pockets of many others. So this is something to keep in mind, where in a post-scaling world where the scaling solutions matter. And it could be argued that we might be seeing something similar with Ethereum and its roll-ups right now. Yeah, since Bitcoin and Ethereum regularly reach their capacities and continue to regularly do so, their block space can be revenue generating to the point of sustainability. But what about the others? Does the fee model make sense for L2s and Polkadot and parachains? No. And right now they're not getting there. So there's a lot of subsidization going on. And I propose that we think about these other blockchains right now as sort of like pre-revenue startups. Like even Solana, Cosmos ecosystem, Polkadot, all of them, besides Bitcoin and Ethereum, require the token influenced subsidies to sustain themselves for now, with the hopes of generating revenue. Now, will they generate revenue with fees? I don't know if that's a good idea when their entire value proposition is cheap transactions. So, but they do, every blockchain has this. This is true for both Bitcoin and Ethereum and all others. I know that Solana has off-chain validator subsidies, so they're subsidizing their validators to keep them profitable and to keep fees low. We know this as well. On-chain treasuries very well in this space, and grant programs are ways of subsidizing, getting people and attracting attracting people to stay on board and come to a blockchain. And then you have good old business development. And essentially what you have at the end is, if you factor in the cost of the block space, the fees that you're paying, and factor in all these factors continuously, what we have is negatively priced block space, pre-revenue institutions that aren't really sustaining themselves based on the value of the product they're supposedly providing. And this is okay. It's not a bad thing. We can get through this, and we need to think of ways to generate revenue other than fees. Fees are an old, outdated model that are useful for some chains, Bitcoin and Ethereum, but may not be appropriate for a post-scaling world. And I don't know if you've been paying attention to some discussions about high-value transactions or MEV. That might be an avenue for other chains to go down to. Ordering could be another one as well. So that's just a general overview of, okay, if we're going to have this and the demand isn't there, you can still, as a marketplace, find ways to create demand despite even being negative, because that's actually better than being just simply low price at an equilibrium. So Coretime. Coretime is on Polkadot. It was made to address the shortcomings and disadvantages of parachain auctions, agile Coretime specifically, and to create a more future-proof and extensible platform, and to expand the potential audience and user base, to create a better way for sustainably building on Polkadot. And how is it related to the block space? Well, there are two sides of the same coin, according to Rob. Block space is the raw material created by blockchains, and Coretime is the allocation mechanism for that block space. I like to think of it as that cores provide the block space that's on Polkadot and related. So there were disadvantages of parachain auctions, as we may well know already, but they were unpredictable. There's uncertainty and complexity with regards to renewals. They were unfair, arguably, with the prices, and relatively expensive. Here's a quick overview. I'm quickly running out of time. I don't want to go too deeply into this, but there's a lot of information out there about Coretime, but it solves a lot of the problems that we were having. Mostly with the unpredictability. Once you get a core or a slot, what was formerly called a slot, you can continuously renew that at a rent-controlled price, which will create some interesting aspects, but it does allow for builders who need a full core to have a level of predictability that is doable. If they want that rent control, however, has a side effect in economics, and that may lead to supply shortages on the open market, which then may increase the demand further. But Coretime has a unique aspect where, I'm going to skip through, where you can split up your core and share it with others, and this is something that's pretty important. But also, we're going to need to see a lot more cores filled up for that to happen. One thing I do want to emphasize is that the block space should be cheap. Block space should be cheap. It should be easy. It's something that developers and users want. Doesn't necessarily need to be expensive to be valuable. But the block space provided by each core is very, very ample, and no core is being utilized even fully right now. And cores will be scarce, however. So it's very important to understand that cores are going to be relatively way more expensive than the block space that's out there, depending on the demand, of course. But if there is some sort of sustainable demand for cores, they're going to be relatively more expensive than the block space they provide, due to those renewals that are very, very important for predictability. And losing the chance at renewing your core is a very, very costly thing for a business that needs their own chain running all the time. So that's going to disincentivize things like splitting up, which you can't renew once you do things like that. So there's a new Coretime chain, which handles the procurement of bulk Coretime. It handles the assignments, and it will handle trading as well, interlacing and splitting. So this is like relatively just sharing of cores in different ways. So what do I need to get it? I mean, these sales occur once a month. There's rent-controlled renewals, as I said, and multiple cores are sold each sale, which is a huge improvement over parachain auctions where only one was done at a time, making them very, very, very competitive. So what can you do with it? Right now, it's parachains, the same thing before. But there's also on-demand parachains, which is a different thing than getting like a monthly subscription to a core. You can basically, similar to blobs on Ethereum, you just on-demand get your block included in the relay chain as you want on demand. Now, the per block price will be more expensive than if you get in bulk, but if you don't need a block every 6-12 seconds, then you can just get it once a minute, once an hour, once a day, if you even so choose. Great advancement coming a few months after. I don't want to promise any timelines, but elastic scaling is one of the biggest improvements in this. Is that, yeah, while each parachain isn't fully using its core right now, you can get effectively faster block times by having multiple cores, and this will allow even a different shift in development, even further away from the over-caring about efficiency you need in those high-value block space, high-demand, low-supply block space providers like Ethereum and Bitcoin, where you need to really tinker and make things super efficient. This allows even more scalability to the point that allows something more developer and user-friendly, where you can just do what you want without the worrying of paying too much in fees. It also allows for trading, speculation, and brokering. I can buy a core as a non-dev and resell it to somebody else who does need it. We can maybe make a trade instead of you don't have DOT, but you have your own or other token. We can make a trade in that way as well. Maybe that's more the core is more valuable than it is your own chain's token. So the idea for Lastic came from Rob's blog post, Block Space Over Blockchains, which I highly recommend. It was written in October 2022. But once Coretime was announced last year at Polkadot Decoded, that's when it all clicked for us. But yeah, the ability to transfer claims on cores allows the creation of secondary markets on Polkadot's block space. Chains will be able to trade extra capacity with each other and act as resellers for block space. Not only chains, but brokers and traders as well, and maybe even crowds. So this is the tech stage, and I didn't want to just focus only on economics and certain things like that, but our journey building Lastic has been interesting, and something that what we've already built is a full-featured UI for Agile Coretime, which is live on Rococo and Kusama. Will be next on Polkadot. We also have plans to transition to Paseo if that's going to add the Coretime chain. It allows for purchases, assigning that core to your parachain, splitting them up, interlacing, and transferring those cores to one another. It provides a nice overview of the time periods, which is, we needed a clear interface for that. We need a clear interface of what the costs are going to be over time. And we've also built with Subsquid an indexer of the Coretime chain that anyone can use, including other wallets, chain explorers, and perhaps other markets. Price prediction and tracking, and a makeshift marketplace on the Rococo testnet, which this is part of this is on Rococo right now. We have some listings and where people are able to trade and buy and sell cores for the native token, which is Rococo on this network. There have been some challenges along the way, and one of the things we set out to do is we wanted to build an application. We didn't necessarily want to build a chain. We kind of actually wanted to avoid building a chain because of the high costs and upkeep it requires, and we didn't think that such a service warranted that, at least yet. Obviously, that would allow us to give us full freedom and allow us to make many features that we could do at our will. But we really wanted to keep it low. So we were looking into using other chains, but XCM is also, it works very well, but getting it to get there, there's support issues, there's other things where if you need to build on a chain that doesn't support this XCM connection, it kind of rules that out for you as well. Rococo had some issues along the way as well, which impeded us from testing. But, and our makeshift marketplace was a way of kind of getting around all this stuff. Since we have no smart contracts or chain to build our own our own marketplace on, what can we do? You either give up or you build your own chain or find a smart contracts chain to build on with an XCM connection to that chain, which none of them have. So kind of like thinking about how can we build around this, going back to the old school Bitcoin methods, we've developed a way to use multisigs that allow purchasers of a core to list a selling price if they want to sell it, where they create a multisig with the potential buyer, and then they both become signers of that multisig and transfer the tokens to the other party and the core to the other party out the other way. But this also created, since this isn't really the intention of design of multisigs, it created some other unforeseen issues that were also costly to overcome, such as the events not getting in there. But we've definitely made some progress in other ways, and it's good to see the Polkadot community kind of taking this, not only with Jam coming along, but these other approaches into adapting the system chains to be more flexible. This is something we're very, very excited about. That's why Aurora and I have proposed putting smart contracts directly on the Coretime chain, which we would really like any fellows further feedback on it. So far, it's been very positive, and we've been very thankful for that. This would allow anyone, not only us, but anyone to contribute to marketplaces in Coretime and really advance this whole area that is not possible on any other chain in ways that we haven't seen before. This would open it up beyond Lastic and would allow anyone to really contribute, create their own ways of doing this. The most exciting thing about building a block space marketplace like this is that it's truly not possible on any other chain. Like, I've really looked into it. People talk about gas futures on Ethereum all the time as if it's this holy grail. That's just like getting a future prediction of a gas price goes against the inherent security model of Ethereum, because the price is designed to go up when there's high demand in those limited block space, in those limited supply moments. And getting around that is sort of becomes an attack on the network, and you don't have any synthetic route to do that on a market level, because nobody wants to take the bet that the gas price is going to be 5 gwei when it's 256 gwei. So Polkadot actually allows true block space trading in a way that's simply not possible anywhere else. And that's why it's been really fun to work on this, and very exciting to see that there's so much development and thought going into this as well. Yeah, so please, and so like one more thing I want to talk about is that one of the drawbacks of Agile Coretime is us losing the ability to want to have one of the most exciting features, in my opinion, on Polkadot, which were crowd loans. Now, crowd loans allowed parachains to secure their slot, but they also allowed for bootstrapping a community and adding liquidity to users who put some skin in the game. This is better than any airdrop mechanism that's out there. It actually requires people to do something actively that actually contributes to an actual utility for that chain. This is something that we need, again, in Polkadot, I believe, even if the chain already exists. If it's a new chain, they haven't issued a token. Again, all these chains have their own tokens. If they want to contribute, they have their own treasuries. They can contribute to all this stuff too. Actually, no, let's make a new bootstrapping mechanism that's 10 times better than crowd loans before, and that's something that I really would love to get into the details. I don't have the time to. If you want to talk about this later, I'd be happy to, but this is kind of our next plan after getting the basic marketplace down, because we think that community-funded block space is the way to go for many, many chains out there. Not all of them, but many of the smaller chains and applications that need it. So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions? Yeah. We have time for one.
Yes. Any question? Yes.
So, yeah, sorry.
Lastic is the only source to have this Coretime trade or secondary trade market.
No, you can do it manually yourself or use another tool called Region X if you'd like. But we have different approaches, and yeah, we can do that. But Polkadot is the only system that allows this actual trading of future block space to be securely done.
Okay, so it's one of the options, but you build a tool to make this experience easier to use, or can I put it that way?
I'm sorry?
So, Lastic is building this tool easier to use. For example, I'm one of the parachain. I need this core time. I can do it by myself, go to Polkadot, but I can also go to Lastic, and then this make my life easier just to get the core.
Yeah. So that's the thing. It depends on if you want to build your own tooling, you can do that directly with the chain. We're building an interface. We've built an interface already that makes it easier, and we've known a few parachain teams to go and use Lastic to renew their Kusama cores, for instance. Yeah, it makes it easier. We want to develop even more tools that make it easier for both users and parachain teams as well. So yeah, you can. It's an interface. Polkadot has built. We're standing on the shoulders of Polkadot and allowing the secondary marketplace, which cannot be done directly on Polkadot, to occur.
Okay, thank you.